But
So, Kyle, now that we've ruined the seamless segue in your
Way
topic,
off topic.
Now the topic's, somewhere that way. Well, yeah, I was going to bring up remasters and like sequels. If like some sequels are really good, some aren't, and I never had time to think of it because I've been having a bunch of troubles with my car. But now that it's brought up, there's been like Spyro remastered, there's Crash Bandicoot remastered. There's, if you look at the Pokemon series, every other game they release is just a remake of one of the older generations, up to and including their newest one, which is Red and Blue again. Red and Blue the third time. And then, of course,
there
there's
versions of Eevee Go.
Yeah, there's Eevee and Pikachu. That's
Eevee's better.
it is.
But I think it's important to differentiate between there's a difference in some of these remasters.
There is.
Nintendo's doing it all wrong.
Mhm.
I think, like with the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, those have been gone long enough.
Yeah.
Those are, good enough games to where they're redoing all the graphics. They're rebinding all the controls, making it a lot more smooth and seamless. Because let's be honest, when we played Crash Bandicoot on PS1 for the first time, it did not feel as smooth as when you played it on PS4 or
It didn't.
whatever.
But that is one thing. Looking at the remaster, I thought, yeah, this is how it looked. I then went back and saw the original one, and I'm just like, what is this? I'm watching a square.
But when you move over to Nintendo and
Yeah.
you have like the Donkey Kong Country or Ice Country, whatever it was
Mhm.
a Wii U game that they just ported over.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've been doing that so much, and so many other games are doing the same, or so many other companies are doing the same thing, and it's killing the industry.
Mm-hmm. Because there's... Go ahead.
Sorry, you go, Kyle.
Well,
Your
there's...
topic.
In, like, PlayStation, they've got Game of the Year editions, which is, like Kirby said, it's like the Horizon Zero Dawn pack that comes with the DLC and all that. And that's completely different from a remaster because it's a collection. Nintendo seems to be, like, kind of trying to do both, where it's a remaster of a game that's recent enough that a collection is what would make more sense.
And also, they're trying to push games that were made for the Wii U, which no
Yeah.
one ended up playing.
Yeah.
Hey guys, remember
So
this?
they're like,
Remember this thing?
"Remember this
Try it
game?"
again.
No. No, I don't. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this has definitely been the generation of the remake,
Mhm.
the remake and the rehash.
But I'm not sure we're gonna be
Remastered
done
early
with it for a
access.
while.
No, I don't think
Especially
so.
since there's a lot of games that have done a lot of success with it. Like you said earlier, Resident Evil. I think there's enough of a market for some of it, and I'm afraid we're gonna see too many games become remasters.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it depends on how it's done. Because I think, let's talk about Resident Evil. So, in my massive lifestyle, length of life, I've seen all the Resident Evil games come out. Saw them come out in their
Original
formats.
and remasters.
The only ones I can remember being remastered so far is Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 1 was first
starting
remastered on the GameCube, I want to say.
I think
And
so.
it was like completely new graphics engine. It was exactly the same game, exactly the same, quests and things like that. They probably just added in a few little extra bits, but it was like a completely new graphics engine from the ground up. I enjoyed that at the time. It was good, but what they did with 2 was like phenomenal, because it's like it's taking what you remember if you ever played the original, but it's putting it into like a completely different game. It's like completely different way of controlling it, completely different experience, not just repolished graphics.
Hmm.
And I like that. I think that's the right way of doing it. I think if you're going to release it it should be a remake, not a remaster.
Yeah, it's got
You
enough
can't
of the old
release-
game to to bring nostalgia to those who have played it, but to those who haven't, it's a brand new game and it's amazing.
Yeah. I think the problem that we have is when you have just something which is just a slight upgrade of the graphics, like, for instance, Last of Us on PS3. was 720p or something, and then 6 months later it's released again on PS4 and it's 1080p. There was no need to release that again.
Right.
Just make it backwards compatible.
Yeah.
I like what Borderlands 1 and 2 have just done.
Yeah.
They haven't remastered them. They've just released free patches, which upscale the graphics.
Yep.
You don't have to buy the game again.
You
Yeah.
already bought the game.
Yeah,
Why
you've
buy
already got the
again?
game. Congratulations, you can now play it with slightly shinier graphics, and we're not going to charge you full retail for it.
That's a big thing they did on Steam. If you had Borderlands 1, they, instead of giving you, or they took away your copy of Borderlands 1, and they gave you Borderlands Game of the Year Edition.
Yeah.
And they gave you all the DLC and everything
Which-
if you already owned it. I think that's
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah, I don't think for just making the graphics slightly shinier, I think that is like a massive slap in the face when you've bought the game recently. I think for games where it's like, you know, Spyro, which is like,
PS1.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's like 15 years old probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't-
98.
Oh wow. You
Wow.
So
older.
What- no,
Yeah. Yeah,
the first one
almost
came
20
out in
years.
98.
Wow.
So yeah, you can't realistic, and especially on like the PlayStation
Early.
ecosystem, you can't play that
Mm-hmm.
without having the new version. And it's not just an upscale; it's like completely
Oh, it's redone everything.
Yeah.
redone for this
It's
generation.
absolutely gorgeous. I have a PS1 sitting in front of me. I played Spyro 1 the summer before the Spyro Reignited trilogy came out. It's the same game, but you cannot tell by looking at it. Everything is so smooth and so polished, and that's what a remastered needs to be. It's not just, you know, like there's two examples of things that did it really well. Spyro, and then there's Ocarina of Time. Now,
Yes.
don't get me wrong. I love Ocarina of Time. However, that came out on the 64. We had a remaster or whatever. There's an edition that came out for the GameCube, and then they remade again for the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right in saying, and this is my old foggy memory, but didn't the remake of Ocarina of Time on the GameCube, wasn't it free with Wind Waker?
Think so. Yeah.
There was a package. So there's two different packages. There's a Wind Waker package that came with Ocarina of Time, and the Ocarina of Time like Master Mode or Master
Yeah,
whatever.
they came out with
Master
the
Quest.
Master
thing,
thing.
which basically they took the same game and just have you relived it, but just they changed it enough to where it's like, oh, it's like kind of brand new, and you didn't know everything going into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know about you, but Ocarina of Time was also just a massive game ahead of its time.
Oh
And,
yeah,
like,
definitely.
and it's still one of like my favorite games because I mean, and that's what the Nintendo 64 did really well is that it really revolutionized gaming, and I like the fact that some of these systems tried to make us re-experience that. However, I'm not sure the game was necessarily old enough that we needed that,
I
but
think Ocarina of Time was old enough.
it's been already remade twice.
Well, I know, but Nintendo 64, who still has a GameCube? I mean, yes, we do, but
I was gonna say I do.
yeah, okay, but who still pulls out their GameCube and plays it active?
And that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're also going to give it to someone who has a 3DS. It's the complete wrong market because who has a 3DS?
He says pulling one
Who
out.
other than Kyle?
Besides these just fucking Canadians. But no, the 3DS was not a adult console, and you don't make a remake like that for the 10-year-olds that are playing a on a 3DS. Kyle.
So with the,
This is a 2DS, thank you.
with Ocarina of Time, was that like a full retail release, or was that like a budget game when it came out?
For the 3DS, it was like a full redo. For the GameCube, I think it was originally made as the like add-on for Wind Waker, and then they did the Master Quest thing.
Yeah,
And that might be the case. I don't know.
yeah, because I know. I mean, I'm guessing 3DS is the first and only time you've been able to have that on that console.
On handheld.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably one way they could look at like saying, this is why we're charging you full whack for it, even though you may have played it before. One of the games that I hate, the fact that it's got a remaster, is Dark Souls, the original.
Literally. That's a PS3 game.
It's a PS3 game, so it's not even that old. But also, it's one of the cases where they've just upscaled the graphics. It's
not a remaster.
There's no need for it to have been re-released, and it's full price.
Yeah.
The day before it got released on Steam as the remastered, it was £10. It got released as a remake. It shot up to £40, and it has never dropped from that price.
Wow.
It takes a lot to remake things. A bit.
Why?
When you put out a remake,
it could have been just a fucking patch. It could have been a patch exactly the same as Borderlands to upscale it from 720. PS3, yeah, it would have been 720 up to 1080p. It would have cost them nothing.
Well, like you said, they'll charge you what they can charge you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have brought life to the game. Like Borderlands, they did an amazing thing. They're like, here, we're releasing a new game to get you guys all ready for that. Here, have the Game of the Year edition for free on us.
Yeah, and how many people are now streaming it?
Oh, it's all over. I was planning on playing it.
Everywhere.
Like, yeah.
This guy.
Like, for the last few months, I was like, oh, I really want to play Borderlands. I've never finished them. And then they announced it and everyone's playing it. And I'm like, well, now I don't want to play it.
Insert ad for Borderland Tuesdays coming soon.
One game that got I don't know if it's a remake or a re-release, but it's Chrono Trigger, which is one of my favorite games from the Super Nintendo era. If you've seen me play it, I'm using the Super Nintendo version with an emulator, but there's a Nintendo DS version that looks the exact same, sounds the exact same, with like very minor touches to make it run smoother. And it was released as a whole new game where the only difference is like, I think 2 additional endings, because originally there was like 16 or something, and then like a side thing that's like basically Pokemon. And as someone who loved the original Chrono Trigger, it's a massive game, it was so much fun. I wasn't upset buying it again for the DS, because I'm just that big of a fan. But having said that, like Kirby said with Ocarina of Time, I've got a friend who is like the biggest Zelda fan, who has every single game, but he never got that Ocarina of Time because he has the original, the GameCube with Wind Waker, the GameCube Master Quest, and so he's just like, I don't see a point in getting the 3DS one when I've already got it 3 other times.
Yeah.
Right. I think they're trying to capitalize on a market that really isn't there. Like, you're trying, at that point, you're releasing a game from maybe the 90s.
Yeah.
Today on a system for kids that, let's be honest, they probably can't figure out all the puzzles of the water temple and figure out, oh, I need to get the Bigoron sword and all these other things. They can't figure out that shit anyways without, going to IGN and looking for a walkthrough. Hell, playing it as an adult, I had problems trying to figure it out.
I think you'll find I use GameFAQs.
All right, old man. Time for your medicine.
And I find GameFAQs by going to Ask Jeeves.
Oh God.
Do you have the original gamer guides too? The old paper, magazines.
He actually has it written on the back of a poster.
Yes, I need those for my Game Genie.
Rob, you think you feel old? One of my friends' little siblings, when the new Smash came out, was looking at the character roster and like, who's Pac-Man? And then the wheelchair came out and I'm just, oh God! They don't know Pac-Man!
But I will say, going back kind of between the two topics, with Chrono Trigger, I watched Kyle play it. I really enjoyed watching him play it. And then I was like, you know what? That was great. I put it on my wish list. Haven't bought it for how long have you? Whenever you posted it, I still haven't bought it. It's on my wish list for Steam. And I'm like, nah, probably will never buy it.
But I mean, it is good in some ways for like, people who never played those games. I never played Chrono Trigger. I'm like 1 million years old, and I just didn't play it. I think when that came out, I was probably had a PC and I wasn't on consoles. Maybe I can't remember. But one of the games that I used to play when I was a wee child of probably about 13 or something, was Secret of Mana. That was on like the SNES. Fucking loved that game, and they remade it like last year, I want to say. A completely new engine, it's 3D and everything. I thought, oh my god, that looks amazing, and it's meant to be dog shit, and I haven't bought it.
I've heard nothing but bad reviews about
Yeah.
Like some, at least when you have a remake, it should be. It makes sense if it doesn't like translate well to today's gaming market. It actually got worse. How do you do a remake of a game and it gets worse?
Yeah, when it's like
I don't
a game
understand
that's
that.
actually like beloved, it's something that's seen as a classic. You can't fuck it up. I mean, if you do it one of two ways. You do it is the cash grab where you just release the same game but make it look slightly shinier and prettier. Or if you're going to do the remake, then you put the money into it to make sure it's fucking good, or else you're just going to look like a fool. And unfortunately, apparently that's what this. Which breaks the little Soma's heart, because I was looking forward.
I remember you mentioning that when it first came out, and I was looking forward to it too. And then
I was actually going to buy 3 copies so I could send 1 to 2 other people, because it's like it's 3-player co-op.
Oh.
So I was going to buy 2 copies for 2 other people. So we could record it and stuff like that. I was so excited, and then when it came out, it was just negative review, and I was like, and it was like £50, and I thought, I'm not paying £150 for like
for
dog shit.
Yeah.
I get dog shit for free. My puppy. Yes, you do.
Speaking of,
Yeah. And like that's another thing with the Chrono Trigger remake for Steam. It's very mixed reviews. People are like, oh, it's nice to play through it again, and other people are like, it's dog shit. I don't know what this is. So that was.
Sometimes it can be that like just the mechanics don't necessarily like translate to a modern audience. If you've played it before and you know what you're getting into and it controls exactly the same, then you're going to be aware of it. You're going to enjoy it. It's kind of like Resident Evil games. If they had released Resident Evil 2 with just the same graphics that it has now, but it was controlled the same clunky tank controls as on the PS1, then I think people would have gone, this is horseshit.
Yeah.
This is like a terrible game, because it was it was like hardware limitations at the time is why you had that type of game. It's why you had like a fixed perspective, and it had to load each time you went round a corner. Each time you went up the stairs, you had that stupid fucking animation. Every time you opened the door, you had the slow door animation, because it physically couldn't cache all those things, so it had to read all the information off the disc every time you did it.
Right.
If you had that actually as part of a remake, even though you can have it running in real time, people would just be like, what the fuck's this?
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
Okay, good.
And it just nostalgia doesn't translate in some cases, and I think that's probably what the issue is with Chrono Trigger and things like that, because it's pretty much the same game. It looks slightly shinier, but you're basically playing the game that was released 20 odd years ago.
but I don't think it's as much as a problem with like the remaster was the problem. It's the fact that how they did it was the problem, and like it's completely different. Sort of like those are games that probably deserved a remaster.
Oh yeah.
But it just did not translate well in today's market. When you have, Nintendo Wii U games being remastered for the Switch, that's not necessary. There's certain games, there's a certain time frame where, okay, it makes sense to have a remaster. Shadow of Colossus, perfect example. It was
and they did it right,
game.
because it was like it was like a fresh new game. It wasn't just here's
right,
slightly
and
uplifted graphics.
it looked fresh. Now then again, the game was short, but I mean, it was still a good game. If you go into the mindset that this was a PS2 game when you're going into it, it makes a whole lot more sense. Same thing with Spyro. You play that game, you're gonna maybe put 6 hours into the first game.
Yeah.
And that was pretty typical of, what you used to do back then. Now you have games where you put like easily 60 hours just to beat like the main part
Intro's
of the game.
done.
Yeah.
character creation.
Yeah.
and then it opens up into another 100 or so hours playing that. But then you also have games on the other side of the spectrum where, like Overwatch, within the first 3 months of having the game, I put well over 100 hours in that game into Tracer alone as a character.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, gaming itself has just changed so much, and it's nice to have those reminders. But if it's last generation, we don't need that reminder. We remember that. PS2, perfect. PS1, even better. If you want to start bringing back, like, with all the classic systems now too, like they had the PlayStation 1 Classic, which also just did not sell well. But you had the SNES Classic, which sold out all the time.
I like to call those console light.
Yeah.
Yes. The 30 games, and that's all you can have on it.
Yeah.
5 good games, 30 of them that you will never play.
Yeah.
It's like, here's 30 games. There's 2 on here which you remember, and the other 28 were shit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good luck. Enjoy.
You guys remember E.T. for the Atari? Here you go. $80.
Yeah.
You can probably still go find a
15
live
when that
film.
came out. I wasn't.
E.T. was only good for recycling the parts for it. That's about all it was good for.
I will say though, a good example for me for remastered games was Metal Gear Solid. So all of the Metal Gear Solid's been coming out PS1, right? I believe that was the first.
I think so.
So for PS3, they had all the ones that came out before it came out on PS3, and then they had I think it was like 4 games in total, like 1, 2, 3, 4 were all on there, and then the PSP version that came out there. They put all those games into one, $30. Great deal. And I think that was like a really genius way of doing it. Like, you still have the clunky controls and everything. I went back trying to play it, and I was like, what? Why is X to shoot? I'm like, what is this?
How does thumbs?
Yeah. It's like, what are these? Yeah, it was interesting going back and playing it, and the controls were still like really, really clunky, but it was nice that they clumped them all together and put them all on a PS3. It was all there. It wasn't just like one game. They put everything there,
and like these
DLC
remaster collections is what is really doing well. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro were both remaster collections, 3 games in one, and they all look.
I think if you're selling them as like, if it had been like Spyro 1 out for $40, I think that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
But when you're releasing it as a compilation, it's like the Master Chief Collection wasn't like perfect, but I like that. I like the fact that at the time I could play the old Halo games all on one disc. I didn't have to dick around like with backwards compatibility and having it all, crappy resolutions and what have you. It was all upscaled. It wasn't like build is being built from the ground up. It was just right. You've got all of your favorite Halo games. You can play them all in this one dashboard. You physically just select it. Blah blah blah. Yeah. It did look slightly shinier. I also like the fact that you could like switch between like the old view and the uplifted, so you can see the difference.
Oh yeah.
I think more games should do that because that's quite interesting to do. What I try to do with the Resident Evil 2 videos that I put up was to cut in like, this is how it looked on PS1 when you were playing it. So the first time you go into like the police station, I cut in like in one of the corners or something that you saw like what it looked like the first time you went to the police station on the PS1, just so you could see like how far these games have come from being one another. I think having like just those little having those little extras like as part of the game is pretty cool. And it in a way it makes you feel more validated for having bought it, because you like go, oh, you know what, this game does look completely different to what it was. It's not just like in my head that I'm now playing the game and thinking, this is pretty goddamn similar to what I played 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think Master Chief did that well. Like, I think grouping them together, it actually makes sense for the big price tag that you're getting with the $60 and whatever.
Yeah, because
so you can play it on PC.
Yeah, once it comes on PC, if they want $60 for all the Halo games, I'm gonna be like, hell yeah.
I would pay that.
Yeah,
but
I'm
then
gonna
again,
pay that.
Then again, I am the idiot who bought Grand Theft Auto 5 on PS3, PS4, Xbox One, and then PC. So I've bought that game 4 times at full retail price.
See, I would mock you openly, but I can't say anything because a series that's really bad for these like remasters and pushing the games together is Kingdom Hearts. Because there's the Kingdom Hearts 1 original release, there's a billion games between them, and then there's Kingdom Hearts 2, and just recently Kingdom Hearts 3. But along the way to Kingdom Hearts 3,
1.2,
1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 2.8, 2.85, and then apparently at the very beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3, before you actually get into that game, there's Kingdom Hearts 2.9.
And let's not forget, there's also PS3 and PS4 editions to all those collections.
Yeah.
Like that's an example of a company doing it very poorly.
Yeah. Oh, well, because fuckers are buying them.
Yeah. I only got one version of them. I didn't get PS3 and 4. I got PS3 for the first collection, PS4 for the second.
To get into Kingdom Hearts, because I've looked at them and thought, they actually look really fun. But then I look at it and I think, which one am I going to buy? Like, I don't know.
22 of them.
Do I need 1.3 and 1.4? Is there any extra story? I'm scared. I know what I'll do. I'll buy another copy of Grand Theft Auto 5.
I was in, I think it was grade 6 when I first beat Kingdom Hearts 2. I think I was in grade like 5 when it came out. And I remember saying to my brother, I can't wait for Kingdom Hearts 3. I wonder if it's going to be in the next couple of years. I then discovered the Dream Drop Distance and the Birth by Sleep and everything else in between.
And I was so happy the day I got to buy it with my pen.
I still haven't bought Kingdom Hearts 3. I keep thinking I'm going to once I beat the rest.
I think a good example that could really capitalize on this as well would be Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
They've remastered how many already? But if they released all of them on a console, like every single Final Fantasy game, people would eat that up. Even though that some of them aren't as good, they'll buy it just for those few that are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be really helpful for one person I know.
All those Sunday streams.
Hey, what are you guys doing this Friday? I mean, Saturday.
No, it's Sunday now.
Monday? What?
But I remember a bit ago there was rumors of Final Fantasy VII remake, and I've never played Final Fantasy VII. I've never seen it played, but I've seen the movie, and I feel like from that I know the story enough to not watch it or play it, even though I'm sure it's completely different.
Because I think the movie is does that carry on at the end of 7 or something? I think I've seen one anime which was based on it, and it wasn't anything like the games. But I mean, I think 7 is the remake is probably going to be one of the bad remakes. I don't think it's going to be a good thing. I mean, I know they're doing it is a completely different engine, and it's going to be using the new combat thing, which is more real time.
Yeah.
Not the old turn-based thing.
Yeah.
I'll hit you with my giant sword if you wait to hit me.
Yeah.
If you wait to cast Doom spell.
I think that just takes a bit of the charm out of it. I mean, at the end of the day, all you're then getting is... I mean, are they even going to have the cinematic stuff, or is that all going to be done in engine? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically what you're getting is just the story is going to be what's continued. I don't even know, because originally they were saying it was going to be episodic. I'm pretty sure that was the original thing, where it was going to be you don't buy it as a game, you buy it as a series.
You're just buying DLCs.
Yeah, and it was
$10 here,
$10 flashbacks
here.
to Bendy.
This just sounds terrible, but everyone was getting so hyped about it, and I was like, maybe I'm the bad guy.
Well, you know what happened there? They'd get to chapter 3, the middle of the game, and they wouldn't name it something dramatic. It would be chapter 3. You know what happens here.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
Yep.
Chapter 4.
Yes.
Told you.
I feel like I'm not contributing enough to this conversation. I know this Final Fantasy expert. If you want, I can call him in. Get him involved in the conversation.
Does he happen to be in the same room from a slightly different perspective?
Yeah. He's right behind the feet.
No, he's not here. He's not here yet. I can see what he's doing. He's mostly open on Fridays, but I'll see.
I will say though, I did try going back and playing the Final Fantasies on PS3. Going back and playing the turn-based, I was like, I was trying to get hyped for Final Fantasy 15. I played, I think 10 and 12, and I was like, one was turn-based and the other one like just got off of turn-based.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I got about 3 hours into it. I'm like, that's good. I'm good enough. Like, I don't need to play these again.
I'm
Yeah,
ready
and
for
then I think
15.
I think they
Or 15.
they are a struggle to play through the old ones. I think.
Yeah.
I think what you really want to say is that you were watching one of your favorite streamers play through old Final Fantasy games, and it got you hyped for the old ones to try. But you found out it wasn't as exciting as that person made it out.
Definitely.
Is that what that was?
Wasn't a year before that started.
I think one of my favorite things about the Final Fantasy series is that it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 2, 12. Because
X2 plus, X plus
yeah.
2, 5. It's like, what?
Because I remember my grandpa had 10. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is a fun game, why not? I'd never actually beat it. And then he's like, oh yeah, it's Final Fantasy 11. I looked at him like, that's 10 too. Oh no, it's 11, but it's not.
That's not how numbers work.